Cara que rouba celular aí. Oh, ladrão, ladrão!
Nearly 7,000 miles away.
More and more phone theft victims say their stolen devices.
London is being harvested, June 2026. Not by pickpockets, not by petty opportunists, but by an industrial-scale criminal machine that snatches phones off the streets of the capital and ships them 9,000 kilometres to China, where they're sold in a single tower nicknamed the Stolen iPhone Building.
In 2024, mobile phone thefts in London hit record highs. Figures from the Metropolitan Police show that over 116,500 phones were stolen in the capital. That's an average of 13 per hour.
And the most damning part isn't a police statistic. It's that an ordinary victim can now watch it happen in real time, tracking their own phone as it crosses the planet, while the people paid to stop it admit they're chasing a global network they cannot keep up with. In late April 2026, a journalist in central London had her phone snatched off her bike handlebars in a single second. Less than 4 weeks later, it popped up on the streets of Shenzhen, more than 9,000 kilometres from where it was stolen. She didn't guess where it went, she watched it travel. That is what London has become. A collection point at one end of a global supply chain, where your phone is the raw material and a tower in southern China is the factory floor. This isn't street crime anymore, it's logistics. But real quick, before we trace the entire pipeline from a London pavement to a Shenzhen sales booth, let's be honest about why you're not hearing the full picture. The mainstream press will tell you phone theft is down because the headline number dipped slightly and they'll leave it there. What they won't tell you is that a single criminal network was running 40% of it, that almost nothing gets recovered, and that the machine is still running right now. That's why we built British Front Media, to follow the story all the way to the end. If you want the truth they bury under a convenient statistic, subscribe now. Your subscription is what keeps this channel independent. Reason number 1, you can now watch the machine work in real time and it doesn't even slow down. The reason we know this is a global operation and not random theft is because the victims themselves keep proving it. When that London journalist's phone was snatched, she tracked it crossing more than 9,000 kilometres to Shenzhen within weeks. She is not alone. London tech entrepreneur Sam Amrani had his iPhone 15 Pro snatched in Kensington by 2 men on electric bikes, and using Find My, he watched it move from a London repair shop to Hong Kong and finally to the Huaqiangbei Electronics District in Shenzhen, the same 9,000-kilometre journey. His verdict on how it felt: quick, organised and targeted. Now sit with that for a second. The victims are tracking these phones faster than the police can recover them. A device can be snatched, foiled, boxed, flown, and sitting in a Chinese market booth, all while its owner watches the little dot move across the map, powerless. That is not a crime wave you can policing your way out of one arrest at a time. That is a conveyor belt, and London is feeding it. Reason number 2, one network, 40,000 phones. 40% of an entire city's thefts. In October 2025, the Metropolitan Police announced they had disrupted a single criminal network suspected of smuggling up to 40,000 stolen phones from the UK to China in just 12 months, a figure representing as much as 40% of every phone stolen in London during that period. The Met's lead on phone theft, Commander Andrew Featherstone, called it the largest crackdown of its kind.
And we are getting an inside look at London's crackdown on an epidemic of phone snatching. Cell phone thefts now account for 70% of all thefts in the city. And for years, Scotland Yard has been accused of not doing enough to stop them. Now,
the force had ever undertaken. The operation, codenamed Echo Steep, ended with 46 arrests across London and Hertfordshire, 2,000 devices recovered, and 28 properties raided. Here's where it gets darker. The whole thing was cracked open by accident. It began in December 2024, when a single iPhone, stolen on Christmas Eve, was tracked to a warehouse near Heathrow, hidden among nearly 900 other stolen phones bound for Hong Kong. Almost all of them were stolen. Think about what that means. Police didn't uncover this network through intelligence or surveillance. They stumbled onto one box with 900 stolen phones in it, and that single box led them to a network moving 40,000. So ask yourself the obvious question: if one accidental discovery exposed an operation that size, how many boxes are getting through that nobody ever finds? Reason number 3, the economics are brutal, simple, and unstoppable because the profit is enormous. Why does this machine never stop? Follow the money. A street-level thief in London is paid up to £300 for a single snatched handset. That same phone, an iPhone, is then resold in China for up to £4,000. That is the entire business model in one sentence. Snatch a phone in 1 second on Oxford Street, get paid a few £100, and the people above you multiply that by more than 10 times by shipping it east. London law enforcement estimates phone theft is now a £50 million annual criminal industry in the capital alone. And it's not random which phones vanish. A detective inspector on the case confirmed the smugglers specifically target Apple products because of how much they fetch overseas. This is precision crime. They know exactly what to steal, exactly what it's worth, and exactly where to sell it. When the reward is that lopsided, £300 of risk for £4,000 of return, there will always be another teenager on an e-bike willing to do the snatching. You cannot deter your way out of maths like that. The machine isn't powered by criminals. It's powered by profit, and the profit is staggering. Reason number 4, and here is where the phones actually go. To a single tower that the world now calls the stolen iPhone building. On the upper floors of the Feiyang Times building in Shenzhen's Huaqiangbei district, traders haggle over iPhones laid out in cramped glass booths. Entire floors of this tower are dedicated to second-hand iPhones from Western countries. It has earned its nickname, Honestly. Theft victims have reported finding their lost devices all beeping in unison from this one commercial centre on the Find My map. The route is consistent. Phones snatched in London move through Hong Kong, a free port with minimal customs oversight, where a single industrial building on hung-to roadhouses, wholesalers advertising iPhones openly labelled as iCloud locked, before crossing into mainland China. But here's the part that should make every victim's skin crawl. Even a locked phone you think you've protected is worth money. If traders can't unlock it, they strip it for parts, screens, chips, circuit boards, all resold piece by piece in a market built for exactly that. And to unlock the valuable ones, victims back in London report receiving messages from Shenzhen, cajoling or threatening them to remove their stolen device from Find My, because doing so multiplies its resale value. Read that again. The criminals who stole your phone will message you from the other side of the planet to pressure you into helping them sell it. That is how confident, how organised, and how global this machine has become. Reason number 5. On the street, the theft itself takes 1 second and almost nothing is ever recovered. Picture how it actually happens. A rider on an electric bike or moped approaches from behind, snatches the phone from your hand or your handlebars in a single motion, and is gone before you've turned around. Then, almost immediately, the device is wrapped in aluminium foil, a crude stand-in for a Faraday bag, killing the signal so it can't be tracked. And within 24 to 48 hours, it's packaged and gone. The people doing the snatching are often disposable too. Police say some are students being exploited, promised the equivalent of $400 or $500 per phone, the bottom rung of a chain that climbs all the way to China. And the recovery rate? Devastating. Despite police deploying drones, live facial recognition, and even their own e-bikes to give chase, only a very small fraction of stolen phones are ever recovered. The scale tells you why it feels hopeless. London phone thefts nearly tripled from around 28,600 in 2020 to over 80,500 in 2024, with London accounting for roughly 75% of all UK phone thefts, concentrated in Oxford Street, the West End, and Westminster. Even with thefts dipping slightly to more than 70,000 in 2025, that is still a phone disappearing roughly every 7 minutes, every hour, every day in one city. A second to steal, a planet to chase. That is the equation, and it does not favour the victim. Reason number 6, and this is the one the headlines won't say plainly. The police themselves admit this is global, which is another way of saying it's beyond them. There is a quiet admission buried in all of this. When officers describe what they're up against, they don't call it a London problem or even a UK problem. They describe a global trafficking network. And the same surge in stolen phones is being reported in Paris and New York. That word, global, is not reassurance. It's a warning. It means the snatch on a London street is one link in a chain that runs through Hong Kong's customs-free port and into a Shenzhen tower, across jurisdictions, borders, and legal systems that no single police force controls. So think about what the response actually amounts to. A landmark operation, the largest in UK history, dismantled one network, and that network was running 40% of the thefts, which means even a total victory left the other 60% untouched. Victims are still being snatched, phones are still being foiled and flown. The tower in Shenzhen is still open for business. One of those victims, robbed on Oxford Street, said she now watches her bag and her phone constantly and believes the Met should be doing far more. That is the real measure of it. Not the press release about the bust, but the fact that an ordinary Londoner no longer feels safe taking her phone out in the centre of her own capital city. So here's where we stand in June 2026. A single criminal network was smuggling up to 40,000 stolen phones a year to China, 40% of everything stolen in London. Victims are tracking their own devices 9,000 kilometres to a Shenzhen tower, nicknamed the stolen iPhone building, where entire floors sell Western handsets and even locked phones are stripped for parts. Street thieves earn a few £100s while the phones resell for thousands, feeding a £50 million industry. The snatch takes a second, the cover-up takes foil, and almost nothing is ever recovered. And the police, even after the largest crackdown in the country's history, admit they're facing a global machine that crosses borders they can't follow. The Met can run the biggest operation in its history and still only reach 40% of the problem. They can deploy drones and facial recognition and their own e-bikes and still recover only a fraction of what's taken. They can call it global, and they're right. But calling it global is also an admission that the snatch on the street is the only part of this machine they can actually touch. So here is the question every Londoner deserves answered. How is it acceptable that a victim can track their stolen phone across the planet faster than the police can recover it from across the city? How many tens of thousands more must be snatched before this is treated as the organised international operation it plainly is? And how long before people simply accept that taking out your phone on a London street means feeding a machine that ends 9,000 kilometres away? Because right now, the machine is winning. The streets are the harvest, and the only people tracking your phone all the way to China are the victims who used to own it.